I remember when I was recently divorced and I moved to a rental and I desperately tried to recreate my children's childhood home, which their father still owned. And my daughter came over and brought a card I have saved for many years, which read, "Wherever you are will always be our home." This was particularly poignant when she saw what I had tried to do. She was happily surprised that I had in fact recreated the feeling of home in a new place that provided safety, comfort, and with what I could, familiarity. Each of us defines home in different ways, but all of us define it with feelings that evoke comfort and a feeling that we are safe, which often includes comforts that many cannot afford, even as basic as a bed of one's own. The first time I moved into that rental, I remembered breathing deeply. A real sigh. I had done it. I had moved and was starting a new chapter that I hoped would be filled with newness while keeping the heart from the past. How do you define home? A place where you can let your hair down, be yourself and be safe, feel a sense of belonging? But what if that home were just an empty space? Would you still feel the same? What if that home didn't have your thumbprint, meaning your input on how it was decorated, where you could truly find peace, knowing that this sacred space was part of your caring community? It's not the decorating and furniture per se, but what items that were chosen based on your preferences that made you feel you matter and are visible to both yourself and everyone who visits you. What is particularly challenging is that many of those empty spaces are the first-time homes of aging out foster youth who have often experienced moving from place to place where they may not have had any sense of real belonging. Without this feeling of belonging and community, these young folks are at greater risk of becoming homeless. And being part of a community that cares is the first step to ending homelessness. Welcome to Small and Gutsy, our podcast featuring nonprofits and social impact organizations under $10 million. My name is Dr. Laura Witkoff, and I'm excited and proud to be your host. We hope you'll love the stories as much as we do, and perhaps you will find needed services, a job, volunteer, invest in, or donate. And for all of you followers, Small and Gutsy has just been granted nonprofit 501c3 status. We are thrilled to have moved in this direction, enabling us to continue to meet our vision of interviewing as many smaller nonprofits and social impact organizations as we can. So please pass along any valuable information you hear today to others and send me the name of any organization you'd like featured at lwitkoff@gmail.com. That's 2 T's and 2 F's. Our responsibility as a community is to reach out with love and share the belief that everyone matters. And our youth who have experienced the foster care system and now aging out of that system should be at the top of the list. What began as a random act of kindness has adapted into an incredible community. A sense of home, I absolutely love that name, has created more than 850 homes, helping more than 2,000 former foster youth and their children. A sense of home strives to prevent homelessness by creating first-ever homes for youth aging out of foster care with donated furniture and home goods. 50% of those struggling with homelessness are former foster youth. The homeless crisis can only end through prevention. To share a quote from one of their recipients, "When my home is empty, I feel empty." In 2014, founders Georgie Smith and Melissa Goddard answered a call for help on social media from a foster youth who had aged out of foster care, responded by creating a first ever real home. From there, a sense of home has grown into a community of its own with staff, volunteers, and dedication that reaches far and wide. My guests today are Georgie Smith, who is the CEO and has not only built an incredible team, but has actually designed an efficient home creation system where in only 90 minutes, yes, I said 90 minutes, a home environment is created by volunteers. Georgie was honored as a top 10 CNN hero, a nominee at the 2018 DVF Dion von Furstenberg Awards at the UN in New York, a Shiro, a woman regarded as a hero at the 2017 Women's Choice Awards, and is featured in the books 200 Women Who Will Change the Way You See the World and Random Acts of Kindness. My other guest is Yolanda Elam, who is the Development and Communications Director. She brings 10 years of experience in nonprofit programs serving foster youth and in several advocacy capacities, and specializes in organizational advancement and events to increase awareness and support. As a former A Sense of Home recipient, Yolanda can personally attest to the positive impact that this organization has had on her life, which has influenced her desire to pursue a career in fundraising. Yolanda has been featured on Steve Harvey, Fox 11, KTLA, and continues to advocate on behalf of former foster youth through several incentives around Los Angeles County. Yolanda currently serves on the Department of Children and Family Services Advisory Board. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Melissa Goddard, who couldn't be here today. As mentioned before, she is the co-founder of A Sense of Home. Although her main gig is as a film producer who served on the Hollywood Women's Political Action Committee, was a founding member of Artists for a Free South Africa, and was active in the medical aid for El Salvador during that country's civil war. So let's get started. Welcome, Georgie and Yolanda. Please share with me your passion about A Sense of Home. And Georgie, since this is you co-founded this with Melissa, it really started with a call for help. So please share that incredible story.
Thank you, Laura. It's great to be here. And thank you for having Yolanda. I think Melissa would agree that Yolanda's perspective is almost more important than ours. And that first random act of kindness was really someone just asked me for help on social media, and I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. And I responded by asking for my community to share hand-me-down items, beautiful, lovingly shared items. And then through that, we created a home for a young man who had aged out of foster care and was in a Section 8 apartment, living on the floor with no fridge or stove or anything. And then his friends started asking me for help, thinking that what I was doing for him was an actual service. And I went looking for a service. It didn't exist. So I kept helping. And Yolanda was actually one of those friends that had also asked me for help. And then Yolanda immediately began volunteering for every home thereafter, because she had such a powerful reaction to what was going on. It was very hard to keep up with physically, emotionally. And I went looking for other nonprofits that were in this space to take this on. I could see how to do it, and they had the infrastructure, but no one was really interested in moving trucks, furniture, lugging things around. That seemed so unattractive, because, moving is the second most stressful thing that we go through. So they didn't really want to take that on. So I quickly registered for a 501c3, and in the interim went under the umbrella of a fiscal sponsor. That was a pilot year, really. Unwittingly, we were invited to an event and funds started coming in, and Yolanda was there. So Yolanda then became the first employee, and that was in April of 2015. And the 501c3 came in 2016, of March of 2016. So things really snowballed really quickly. And because there was nothing else like that out there, there was also not the software. So we had to build our own software, because beyond the need in LA, there was a great need in all cities. So in 2018, we began to build our software, and we're in the beta testing phase now, and we're advancing our software, which will then enable us to replicate, and we should be opening in New York.
That's incredibly exciting. And I have to say, Georgie, although you answered just initially a call on social media, this young man how you describe it, and you thought, okay, I'm just going to do this. And then there was another Yolanda, and then there was another call. You couldn't turn your back. You said this has to be something.
Well, I think that what happens to us when we see something was an injustice, right? And it didn't happen to me just because of who I happened to be born to, right?
Yeah.
And so, through no fault of their own, that these young people were in a situation where they'd been removed from their parents and a home, and then moved around in a system, and then they're out on their own at age 18. It was absolutely incumbent upon me and Melissa to continue to do this. So Melissa and I just started calling it A Sense of Home. And what that is because it happened organically. All of this is organic, but our reference of calling it a sense of home was what I noticed that they didn't ever have. And so I realized my mum had gifted me, especially it's our mothers really that do this, right? Our mum gifted me this sense of home so strongly that I knew how to recreate it when I moved from one side of Australia to the other, from Australia to Los Angeles. So that was something that my mum had gifted me. However, these people had never been gifted that. So it wasn't just about items. It was like, how do you create a space that you mentioned reflects who you are and why you matter in the world and what you have to say, and also a reflection of where you want to go, like what are your goals and aspirations.
I love that.
A place that you can dream, a place that you can feel like you belong. Environmental psychology does focus on this, but in our quest and hunger for happiness and a balanced life, we're really not talking about home other than like home decor shows, which really doesn't get to the psychology of how deeply it is a launch pad from how we show up in the world. It's whether we're successful or we're successful or whether we fail in anything. I don't mean just in a career, but how we show up in relationships, how we show up as a neighbor. Are we kind to the person we just bought groceries for? Do we feel safe and secure? And do we have a place of our own that we can go to rejuvenate? So I think it's a really fascinating and underexplored area. And this, I was responding to a need, but also how we respond to that need is extremely important. We create a safe space for the youth to be seen and heard, but also for the community to show up, to reveal who they are, to reveal their humanity, to reveal their goodness and kindness, and to make sure that the love of strangers is shared in an organic and authentic way.
So Yolanda, I want to hand it off to you for a minute, because not only were you an early recipient, but you have continued to support and give back. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts and story. And then I want to go into, so how does this work?
I came in contact with a sense of home through that first recipient. I was really in need of items. I had like a little studio apartment and I didn't have anything. And so the day they came out, it was like, I don't know, maybe like 10, 12 people came into my little space and started moving items in, setting everything up. And what I always like to say, it was less about the what and more about the how. I think so often a lot of foster youth felt very not seen, invisible. And this was a group of people coming in and making you feel like you mattered, right? And then giving items that are now your own, which very likely you've never had, and I never had, and making you feel a sense of dignity and worth. And for everyone to kind of just come and see you, it was such a special moment. And that's really what the home creation is about. It's a celebration of this individual who has overcome so many odds and is now celebrating them into their next chapter of life, which impacted me so deeply to keep moving to volunteer, over and over and over again, because I saw just how magical that moment was. And, there's so many studies that show that one person could change the trajectory of someone's life. Now imagine 12 people coming in and making you feel seen and heard and special. Imagine what that could do to someone's life journey. And, I was just looking back at an email that I emailed Georgie, literally, I think a few days after my home creation. And I couldn't even believe what I said. I said, thank you so much. I no longer feel ashamed to have people in my space.
I had to have gotten that feeling because I wrote the intro. We didn't talk about it. And one of the things that came to mind was not only visible for yourself, but to others who come visit you. So the fact that you brought up the concept of shame, and I want to highlight, you used the word celebration. And I absolutely love that because, and Georgia, you said this before about maybe it's our mothers or our parents or our caregivers or whoever who help us launch us into the next space, right? Into the next phase of our life. And when we don't have that, not only is it the financial resources, but it's the actual celebratory piece of this is where you get to, from where you get to launch into whatever you choose to do. And that's incredibly powerful as you describe it.
I love that you looked back at that first communication, because
Mhm.
obviously it's like your true feelings about it. I mean,
Mhm.
I remember Yolanda, because she just said, what you're doing is so important. Like she just like kind of grabbed our shoulders and like kind of
Mhm.
shook us and said,
Mhm.
this is so important. And that gave me energy, because it does take that one catalyst to be kind of
Mhm.
encouraging and creating that. And what it is, a loop of positive energy and positive reinforcement. We need to show up, I feel, with authenticity, come from a very heartfelt space, because if we don't, the foster youth are going to feel it, because they've seen
Of
everything.
course.
And
Of
it's
course.
like,
There's
if you're not sincere, and don't condescend to them, like if you just want to be there in
yeah.
and be present, and to honor them and to celebrate them. And so we are very big in the how, and to create a space where they do feel seen and heard, and that positive energy, because it's still in your apartment. Yolanda's actually now moving in the next week into a dream type of apartment. We're so excited about that. And now we need to have another home celebration.
Yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, my experience and kind of what I went through aging out of the foster care system is not an isolated
I
situation.
know.
This
Yeah.
is something that is very common. You hear about, foster youth aging out, not having resources,
Mhm.
falling into homelessness,
Yeah.
and then from there on after this cycle, right? And so
Mhm.
part of what we do here at A Sense of Home, and really what I think touches a life, is providing a home creation. It's that
Mhm.
part of that middle journey step that you could come in and really make a difference in someone's life. And so it has
Mhm.
been a family for me and a community for me. It shined a light on
Right.
people that saying like, hey, like we want to help. We want to, give back. We want to be helpful, to have them be a part of this process, and everything that we're doing here is invaluable. It's just invaluable.
Well, there's such a tangible component to it, and there's also an incredibly intangible component to it. The fact that you kept that early email speaks to me as what I'd call a transitional object. You get to hold on to that email, and then you recreate that feeling that it meant for you, and that carries you forward. And now you get to, very shortly, it sounds like, have another home creation or a celebration. So I have a couple questions. The first is, what was that feeling for you like? And then walk me through how it actually works.
So the feeling for me, all I remember, and this is coming from such a heartfelt place right here. What I remember specifically was that I've been waiting almost my whole life for this moment, because
Yes.
I had
Beautiful.
friends and I was such a social person. I would go over to my friends' homes, and I was a part of them, their family moving into their first apartments and bringing them everything that they needed, and their cool rooms, and they had their beds and their refrigerator, everything. And I was like, this was my moment to experience that. And it didn't come
Love
in a
it.
conventional way. It came in a very unconventional way. But I'm not sure if a sense of home wasn't around, if it ever would have came to be. And so it was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, this is something I waited forever for, and something that could really
Yeah.
anchor me, into my next chapter. And I have amazing items, like just stunning items. I'll have to send you a picture. My goodness, I just felt like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this for so long, and I never thought it was going to happen. And now it's happened. So
Mhm.
what am I going to do about it? Like such an exciting, moment in my
Well,
life.
I just have to say, I love you. Have an amazing amount of enthusiasm just as a person. I can see that in your social, and I just love that and to capture that. And I think the other piece that you mentioned that I want to highlight is, so this hope that you thought would never happen occurred. This dream sort of came true. You're waiting for it your whole life. Now, what am I going to do about it? And so the ownership is shared. And that's what's so powerful about this, is it's not something is just given. It's a shared experience that now is yours to take care of, and yours to massage, and yours to do something with, which is the level of confidence that typical guardians and caregivers try to give to people that are coming along in their life, either their children or the people they care for. And this you got from this village and this community. And I want to say shame on the foster care system. I know they're overloaded, but they really do drop people at a certain age and don't have this. And Georgia, you said before you weren't able to find a program that could do this. And now being able to recreate this so that it can be replicated in other cities is remarkable and is something that you all as a group, as an organization, need to be commended in doing that. It's just incredible. And I hope spreads even beyond LA and New York. Of course, you all do too. So tell me how the program actually works.
Yolanda, you can speak to our process and how someone finds us. We can help them with a Section 8 voucher to secure a Section 8 apartment at the empty space and how we turn it into a home. I'll let you explain that.
Most people, most of our recipients find us either through like online, looking online, or mainly through referral processes as well with our other community partners. But I would say mainly it's a lot of referrals from one another, word of mouth. So they're saying like, hey, I got this done. That's how I found out about it. Someone posted it on their social media and I was like, oh my gosh, get me connected, right? And then from that point, they could go ahead and fill out an application. And if they are still looking for a Section 8 or low-income housing, we could connect them to our partners where they could get a voucher or Section 8. And if they're already in their unit, we go ahead and go through the process with them, the application process. We understand their needs, their interests, everything that they would like, their favorite colors. So really, we could make the space really personal to them and individualize it to them. From that point, we go ahead and schedule a home creation and we connect them to one of our sponsors, and we go ahead and bring about 15 people out, and with our Sense of Home team, that's about 6 people, and do a home creation in less than 90 minutes.
I couldn't believe when I read that. I was like, that's just incredible. You must ask such detailed questions to find out people's interests.
We do have a detailed questionnaire and our onboarding. What is it when you close your eyes and you want to meditate? What do you see? Where's your favorite place to go for a walk? What are your favorite activities? What are your favorite colors? Do you have any dreams of travel? What are your what's your dream career? So we look for, and that's not just reflected in the colors and the art and the color scheme, but also in the books that we put in their home. We try and put clothing in for every child. 85% of those we serve have children of their own. We're not just serving young people who've aged out, but also their kids who are the most likely to go into the system. And so there's toys and back to school supplies and shoes and clothing for them.
Is there an aha moment in that process?
So our systems are very detailed in ensuring that we receive good quality items, but we are also then having we have a design guide in order to install these beautiful items to create inspiration for the young person. So I think probably the aha thing is usually when someone comes in, because we actually keep them outside during the home creation.
Yeah, so when we're doing the home creation, when all the volunteers are in the home, we have the recipient hanging outside doing a vision board, and we go through resources with them. So during our onboarding process, we want to know what are the top 3 areas where you could use support. How could we best support you? Could we support you in your career? Could we support you in your education? Right. How could we connect you to some of our community partners and make a warm handoff? Because this is a starting place, right? But we really want them to succeed and, take the steps to achieve all of their goals.
I love the idea of a warm handoff, because then you've really created the pathway for someone to get the support that they need to continue sustaining themselves.
We do have we have an educational scholarship. We do provide that ourselves. And then we have some other partners that are coming to us having experienced volunteering at home creation to share their business or their organization with us and extend themselves in a different way. So one organization does financial literacy, another does a very well-regarded therapy group, free Zoom therapy. So the more partners or the more people that touch and feel the experience, the more partners that can offer these ongoing resources. And it's a big part, and we have a staff person dedicated to that. There's also grants that they can apply for. There is so much out there that we want to make sure that they're connected to. So
I want to quickly touch on that aha moment though. And not only is it during the reveal, but it's oftentimes once all the volunteers have left out of the space and the recipient is sitting on their sofa or maybe they're
Mhm.
walking around their hallway, going into the restroom or their bedroom.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I hear them say like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe this is real. Is this really happening? Did this happen to me? And I think like you kind of feel like if you're in that space with them, you kind of just feel like you feel the chills, like, wow, they feel so touched and so
Mhm.
impacted, and they're just in awe. And that is
Yeah.
the moment for me where I'm like, oh wow, like this is such a beautiful moment.
I feel that through the Zoom as you're describing it. So, I mean, because imagine that somebody never thought that this could be something that was not just given to them, but shared with them and really took the time to get to know them and create it with them and partner with them. It's just, it's an incredible moving moment.
Absolutely. And part of what we do a kind of end of uh, our home creation, what we call a ceremony. And we have something called the A Sense of Home Love Jar. And during this time, everyone writes little notes of well wishes, kind regards, welcoming them home into their space. And we put it in a cute like mason jar and hand it over to them. And then that way they have
Beautiful.
15 notes, of all the folks and volunteers that were involved in this process and creating their home that they could look back to, that oftentimes they absolutely love. In
Yeah.
addition to that, our name tags are hearts, little wooden heart. At the end of the home creation, we gather all the volunteers' heart name tags and we hand it over to the recipient
Love it.
for them to keep. As well as we take their heart back to our headquarters and we have them all hung in our corridor of all of the different, recipients we created homes for. So just a little added touch, all of this is really just about spreading more love. We want them to really feel that the next day when they walk into the world, they feel this sense of just confidence and ownership in themselves and really confident in all that they have achieved,
I just love what you've done. It's remarkable. I know Georgie has invited me to a celebration. As soon as I am fully able, I am there. I want to do one. I want to experience that. I feel like I got a little taste of it through this interview, but I'm going to go participate because I happen to be in the LA area. If I ever move to New York, I may have to do it there or any other city where you are. But I also want to talk about a little bit of your growth because I do know that you are getting a new executive director. So I don't know if you want to introduce her on the podcast. I actually know her, so I'm really excited for you all. And then also you have an incredible gala coming up in October. So I'd love for you to talk about both of those things. So your new executive director comes from Safe Place for Youth, where we've had students and I've actually done some workshops there. And it's Rachel Stitch. So talk about her a little bit. I'm super excited.
Yeah, so Rachel comes to us at a time of growth, as you pointed out. And the growth is that as founder and CEO, I'm moving into headquarters so that we can open up chapters in the different regions. So yes, it goes beyond New York. We're looking to go to Australia and Europe and numerous cities throughout the US. So in order to make that happen, we're setting up a headquarters and Rachel will run LA. Should she do that really well, then maybe she'll go into like headquarters. I mean, she does have a deep passion for homeless youth and the number one reason why she came to a sense of home, looking to move into this position of executive director, is homeless prevention. We've spoken about a celebration, and it's a celebration because the odds are stacked against foster youth, and the statistics say that they shouldn't be of having their own apartment with their name on the lease. The average American child is fully dependent on their parents financially, the average American child, until age 29, and 50% of that is on housing. And what goes into the home, not just their rent, but like creating a home. Rachel comes at this wonderful time of growth, and I love her experience and her work ethic and her dedication, and just how seriously she takes this. That like me, she didn't come from a background in foster care, but is so passionate about it that you would think that she did. And I really appreciate that and respect her in that way. So she will be running the LA operations. And yes, this will be our third ever gala on October 21st at the home of Ambassador Nicole Avant and husband Ted Sarandos. And all of the furniture that people sit on is all donated furniture, and it's going into homes. So all attendees understand all that's going into homes, and the same with the gift bags, like that's also going to the youth. And so we really want them to understand the quality and care that goes into the work that we do. The funds raised will be going into LA, but also into the headquarters, and we'll be announcing a capital campaign because of this growth. We do need to have our own building and a larger building. We love where we are in Hawthorne, but we need to be able to accept more donations. So donations come in and they go out really quickly. That's great. But when those bulk type of donations come in, sometimes we can't accept them because of lack of space. The good news is that there is great access to be donated. Also, I think that it's probably abundantly clear, but it's like people are desperate to volunteer. Much of our operations in our warehouse is volunteer run.
How many volunteers do you have, if you had to estimate it?
It's over like 24,000 that have participated. They're baking for all the staff, hand making toys and bags.
Before we go to our quick and gutsy questions at the end of the podcast, I want to get to how in the world did you get it down to a science of 90 minutes? I have to ask that question.
If you let it go longer, people start to get a little frustrated. We have every room is there's a color for the room. And so every item for the room is color coded. There's finite items going into each room and how it's, and so if you allow someone to get really, no, let's move the sofa over here. No, this way, they lose their heart. And so like that, you don't want that frustration in the home. It becomes also it's a physical and emotional high. And so that they get that best possible shared experience, immersive experience as possible. It needs to be in less than 90 minutes. It shouldn't go any longer than that.
Was that from the beginning, that 90 minutes, or was that another iteration of we started this and then?
So what happened was I used to, it was a random act of kindness, and I would just post on social media, who wants to come on this date? Suddenly we were having too many volunteers. It evolved how much we needed to keep organized in terms of like, this is the set number. And then it became so popular that we have home sponsorship. So someone's team gets to sponsor the home. So whether it's family, friends, whether it's a group of students, whether it's a work group, someone might celebrate their birthday by doing it. People are sponsoring a home. Sometimes they'll come in their lunch breaks. And so we needed to keep it tight, but also it just should be tight.
I love the fact that you do like a little video introduction kind of piece on Zoom, where the volunteers actually, then you've created a relationship. You've created a relationship between the volunteers, not a one-time thing when somebody shows up, but it starts much before that. And so that is the brilliance of how you're creating those connections in that community, or at least that's what it sounds like. So I can't wait to do it myself. So are you both ready for a round of quick and gutsy questions? They're fun.
We're ready.
You're ready. Okay, there's no wrong answer. Okay, so you can't get this wrong. What is at the top of your wish list for a sense of home? However, the answer can't be money or funding. So what's at the top of your wish list?
I would just say the capacity to create more homes.
If you were to think of a song that describes a sense of home, what would it be?
Well, the funny thing is that Home by Philip Phillips, like that was that was just new when we began. And so that's kind of been a bit of a theme song for us. Actually, the label, they gave it to us that we could use it. So that song, it was on the radio and we're like, oh my God, this is our song. And
I love it.
We have a playlist at Home Creations and it's on the playlist. There's that. And then also that, like, I love playing at Home Creations is David Bowie's We Could Be Heroes or Heroes. It's like the volunteers being heroes. We could be heroes just for one day. That is like happening. And I get chills every time. It's like we're singing and we're dancing, and like that one gives me the most chills.
The one that just comes to mind is Ain't No Mountain High Enough. It speaks about the resilience of what we're doing. And, the whole history behind that song is overcoming challenges and rising to the occasion. Ain't no mountain high enough. And I just think that really is such a reflection of the population that we serve.
How many of us have gone to that song when we've needed inspiration to get through something? I love that. That is so great. Tell me, what do you believe makes a sense of home gutsy? You all are gutsy. What makes you gutsy?
I think it's our heart. I think that's the most important thing of everyone that we employ and that we want around us. Their sincerity.
Spreading light in a world full of, sometimes not so much light, spreading light and representing light and being the light and hopefully sharing that with others. I think that's it.
There's so much positivity in how you both talk about a sense of home that it's just, it can't help but spread. It can't help but, I'm getting off this podcast going, God, I feel good. I wonder why. there's science behind that. And it's so true. So yeah, it makes you gutsy. You're willing to spread that light and you're willing to have heart. I think it's beautiful. What is something that outsiders or maybe even a few insiders don't know about a sense of home?
I will say that the kind of initial thought that comes to me is that, a lot of like our volunteers or just people that come to us to get involved are really unaware of the kind of foster youth story and that there is a social problem out there. So a lot of what we're doing is shining awareness and educating.
I think I just like the details, like the level of details and the thought that goes behind every single thing.
If you could get one celebrity or influencer to talk about a sense of home, who might that be?
Like, actually, I do have someone. This is like really strange to even think this way, but mine would be Oprah.
Hey, I think Oprah should do a home, right? Let her do a celebration with you. I
would love a home creation.
She would. And she doesn't live that far away. So I think you should get her.
And Beyonce. She's superhuman. She's a woman who has achieved and built and created and was a visionary. And I love that no one's been trying to tear her down.
Yeah, that's actually, hadn't thought about that. I would love to do one for Australia, which would be Caroline Kennedy Schlossberg.
There's a relative on our board.
Oh, that's great. So see, you've gotten in already. Okay, that's great. I love it. So before we end the podcast, tell my listeners, how can they reach you again?
The website is great. So asenseofhome.org. So one word, asenseofhome.org. And that is through, you can buy tickets to the gala on the homepage. You can sponsor a home. You can donate furniture. You can donate funds.
You can volunteer.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I couldn't help it. I was like, don't forget, people have to volunteer. I love it.
There's so many things to do. So yes, and volunteer and participate and also connect us with brands that, might, like we need cribs, toddler beds and cribs desperately.
And the gala is October 21st?
Yep.
Great. So everyone should buy their tickets and everyone should volunteer and everyone should come and volunteer for a celebration. So I just want to take a moment and thank you both for your enthusiasm, your heart, your gift to the world, because I do hope this gets replicated in so many places. And I really believe that this will maybe not fully end homelessness, but it will put a deep dent into it. And so that's my wish. And the more we can replicate and become a village and become a collective society who cares enough to listen and support, because it makes our society stronger when we do. That I really want to thank you for spending time with me today on Small and Gutsy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was great chatting with you, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon, Laura, at a home creation.
All of the Small and Gutsy episodes can be found on the Intrinsic Group website, which has a Small and Gutsy page. The opinions and viewpoints expressed by our guests are independent and do not reflect the position of Small and Gutsy. Of course, we can't take responsibility outside of our own vetting of the organizations we interview, so before you sign on to support or work for them, we encourage you to do your own due diligence and research them as well. We just want you to learn about the Small and Gutsy nonprofit and social impact organizational sector so they can spread their story and their impactful work. I want to thank my partners in this endeavor, the Intrinsic Group, my brilliant sound engineer and composer, Pavel Franson, my very talented graphic designer, Nate Addy. Please check out their bios on the Intrinsic website. My incredible board of directors, Tracy Brown, John Gatto, Lucy Mello, Serena Rajabian, who believed in me and this project enough so to sign on to support this effort, and all of the folks, friends, and family who have guided and inspired me. A very special thank you to my biggest champion, number one fan, and best friend, without whom none of this would be possible. Thanks, Mark Witkoff. Thanks for being there. And thank you for listening. If you like this podcast, please share it with your friends, give us some stars, and write a review on wherever you listen to podcasts. From small and gutsy to big with impact, I'm Laura Witkoff. Thanks for listening.